Hey, my peeps, and welcome to another episode. Sorry I haven't been on in a while. Um, been on the sick side. Just the season, you know. Even though Christmas is over, it's still the season for getting sick. But anyway, um, today I thought I would do girl defined. I'm not going to do a whole lot on girl defined. It's not that I don't have a problem with them because I do have a problem with them, but so many other people do girl defined. Um, Jimmy Snow, what do you know? Uh, Cirrus, Fundy Friday, um, probably some others. Excuse me. Anyway, they push what's called purity culture, and I didn't. I grew up in purity culture, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Um, there's differing um, points of purity culture. You know, some purity cultures there's no touching between um, dating people. Sometimes there's no dating at all. Sometimes it's courting. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that goes on in purity culture world. Um, I didn't have such a problem with it um, because I'm asexual, so I didn't really date. Now, I did masturbate, but I mean, come on, what kid doesn't masturbate? Even I mean, you don't even know what the word means, right? And you're fucking masturbating. It's just what humans do, you know? Sorry to break your heart, mom and dad, but I'm sure you know I did it because I'm sure you did it too. So go fucking leave me alone, you know? But anyway, but yeah. So anyway, um, it's not like it's a secret. I mean, come on. Everybody does it. It's nothing to be ashamed of either. And if anybody tells you that it definitely is, well, you can tell them to go fuck themselves because they need to. Okay. All right. Alrighty. So, let's get to what we're all here for. Girl defined, and these girls are a hoot. They're sisters, um, Bethany and Kristen, and they have a third sister. Um, Bethany and Kristen are both married now, and the third sister, I believe, is still single. In fact, I believe she's still in high school, but I'm surprised the third sister is still single, even though she still is in high school, because these are people who believe in having their women married off young, if you know what I mean. All right, let's get going.
So we're talking about 5 things that Christian women do not want. Now, I know there are a lot of loud voices out there, so-called speaking for all of us as women, but we have heard from so many of you saying, hey, actually, we don't want those things. In fact, we want the opposite. We don't like what we're hearing on, seeing on magazines, hearing on pop radio. Like, no, that doesn't represent us as women. So we are here to share some of the things that you all submitted and said, actually, we don't want these things. So let's jump in and hear what those are. What's up, everybody? I'm Kristen, and this is my sister, Bethany. We're the founders of Girl Defined, and we love talking about all things womanhood, biblical womanhood, identity, God's plan and purposes for us as women. That is our passion.
By the way, when these idiots say biblical womanhood, just read into it slaves for men. That's basically what it is. Because that's basically all biblical womanhood is. Slaves to men. Obey your men, people. Obey your men, women, because you ain't got nothing else. Yeah, right. Probably one of my favorite terms nowadays is go fuck yourself. I don't have a man in my life, and I don't need a man in my life, because I don't need a man in my life to make my life complete. So yeah, you can go fuck yourself. All right. Now that that's underway, I just had to say that. All right, let's go on.
Getting back to God's design. So, like, what is God's design? How do we embrace that as modern women? We know it's timeless. We know He has a good plan for us. And so that's what we love. So we're so glad you're joining us for this conversation, especially those of you who love God's design. I think you're going to really resonate with this because we actually heard from so many of you. You're actually where we got these from, right? These things that
What is God's design for a woman's life? Well, let's see. To suck God's dick, to suck her husband's dick, to have babies, and to keep house. That's basically what God's design for a woman's life is. Or at least that's what I grew up thinking. Moving on.
women don't want, they came directly from you. Yeah. So I had posted a reel to my Instagram the other day, and I called it 5 things women don't want. And I was, how you have like a feeling like, this might cause a stir.
It's a little spicy.
And it really did, though. It caused a big stir. But the majority of what I heard were but many of you saying like, yes, we totally agree. Like, thank you for saying this. Thank you for like finally speaking up for this like perspective that doesn't get very much airtime. And then I posted like a little question box on my Instagram saying, okay, what else would you add to this list? What things don't we want? Or what do we not want to be defined by? What are we not passionately chasing after that the world says we should be? Essentially, right? So we realize these 5 things do not represent every woman out there, but we
So, what exactly is it that the world is telling you should go after, Bethany and Kristen? Because, the world, by which I'm assuming you mean everybody who doesn't think the way you do, that's an awful lot of people. And those awful lot of people have a lot of differing opinions. And, some of those opinions may very well mirror your own, believe it or not. Some of them may not, but some of them may. That's why we're all different people. Okay? Just so you know.
feel like the loudest voices often come across as representing all of us as women when that's not true. There are a ton of us who think differently, who actually hold to a lot of traditional values and who are actually like, I actually want the opposite. But if you say it, you kind of get lambasted and people get offended. It's like,
I never thought as a woman that if I wanted traditional values, like when I was growing up, I wanted to get married. Seriously, I did. That never materialized for me. Hey, Wist. But it never materialized for me, but you get over this shit. And no, I was never lambasted for wanting to get married. What are these idiots babbling about?
Like, come on, we're just finally giving this a voice. Like, let it have some airtime. But people are like, no, how dare you? Such a minority with these perspectives. Let us have our moment, right? Let us have our moment.
Oh my God. Christian persecution complex. We can't be Christians if we're not persecuted. Nobody's saying don't have traditional values. If you want traditional values, go ahead and have your fucking traditional values. Nobody's saying you can't have your traditional values, you fucking morons. We're saying have your traditional values, but respect other people's rights to have other values, which you don't do.
Well, and that's actually a huge reason why we wrote our first book, Girl Defined. Yeah, exactly. I wish I could show it for those of you watching, but we don't have it with us. But Girl Defined, God's radical design for beauty, femininity, and identity. It's radical. Like in this day and age, to go back to God's design, which is often those traditional values, those values for family, for marriage, for what God's design is for gender, for womanhood, for distinctions, for seeing the beauty in those things. That's really radical in this modern day and age. And so when we wrote
No. I wouldn't say it's radical. There are cis women. There are trans women. There are all kinds of genders. Okay? Gender is a cultural thing. It's not biological. And sex, even though sex is biological, hey Jill, even though sex is biological, you can't say sex is either male or female. There is such thing as an intersex person. You fucking morons. So no, don't give me that shit.
Girl Defined, we were kind of wanting to say, like, hey, ladies, you're not alone. We're in this together. Like, we are also chasing after God's design. We are here to bring back biblical womanhood in this modern day and age because it is still so relevant. We believe God's design is so beautiful. So that's why our very first book is actually all about this specific topic. So if you haven't read it and you're like, yes, I need more of that. I want to grow in this area.
Oh my God, here we go with the requisite shilling. Okay, Wist.
I want to know more about God's design. I don't want to feel so alone and isolated in this culture. Then grab a copy of Girl Defined over on our website, girldefined.com/shop. Get it on Amazon, get it at your library.
You girls are like, what, 20-somethings? Don't fucking tell me that you have everything figured out, because you don't. Nobody has everything figured out, okay? Nobody. It's what life's all about. You don't even have life fucking figured out when you die. Okay?
We don't care. Just read it because it is so empowering in the biblical sense of the word to be equipped with the truth of God's word about our design as women. So
Oops, sorry about that. What does that mean? Empowered in the biblical sense of the word. That doesn't even make sense as a series of words. Like,
Well, let's jump in. What are the 5 things that Christian women do not want? Okay, we now speak it. I know this might like some of you are gonna be like, yeah, like cheering on your chairs, and others of you are gonna be like, you know, conversations that either get like cheers or, but come on, this is a quiet voice and we're bringing it out. Okay, the first thing that Christian women do not want is we do not want to be called birthing people. We do not want to be called birthing people. This was quite popular, like in the Instagram box where women were submitting things we do not want, and you kept saying things like this, like we don't want to be called birthing people, we don't want to be called people with a uterus, we don't want to be called bleeder.
okay. Hey, Ox. You don't want to be called birthing people? I had never heard in my life a woman called a birthing person. That's got to be very niche. Fine. So, there are trans women who don't want to be, who do not want to have masculine pronouns because they don't identify as men. They identify as women. So, does that mean that respecting you not wanting to be known as birthing people, then we should respect trans women wanting to be she, her? Because that's exactly what you're talking about. That is exactly what you're talking about, is respecting people. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I agree. We should respect people. That is one thing you people do not do. That is one thing you do not do, is respect people. And we have to fight you all the goddamn time to stay out of our fucking business and let us live our lives. All right, moving on.
Things like that, like trying to take away aspects like of our physical body that are so core to how God made us and they're beautiful, but we're trying to say like, no, we don't want to offend and everything's kind of neutral. So we have birthing people, we have bleeders. I mean, don't you feel like these terms are being thrown around like crazy right now?
It's so sad because we, in our modern society, we have lost all capability of distinguishing a man from a woman because we are told, and we talked about this.
Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking. Do these people live in the real world? Seriously, hey Ox, do these people live in the real world?
In past episodes that, the culture says no, and you'll notice a man can be a woman can be a man. There's actually no distinction. And so when you even
No. There is a distinction. It's a very big distinction. You just don't get it because you don't understand that sex is different than gender. And you can have a female gender but a male sex. And a male sex but a female gender, or non-binary. And you know, there are even cultures. India is a good example. They have like 9 different genders over there. 9, I think. I'm not too sure on that number, but I think they have 9 genders in India. What do you say to that?
Try to define or ask someone who doesn't hold to what God's word says about a man and a woman. You say, what is a woman? What is a man? You get a blank stare. Like, it's just, they're frozen because there is no straightforward answer anymore because things have become so distorted, so convoluted, so confusing in this world of like, we're trying to include everyone. But when it comes to gender, like there are
That's because you're more than your gender, you idiot. What's so hard to understand about that? You are more than your fucking gender. It's as simple as that. Now, I know you don't think so because you've been brainwashed to believe that all you are is a woman to be taken advantage of by men.
very clear lines. There are very clear distinctions that God has drawn, that He has given us as our creator. And so we as Christian women cannot get confused. And we know that. We aren't confused. And that's why I think many of us are frustrated saying, we don't want this. We don't buy into this. We don't believe that. I am a woman. Yes, I was born with these specific female parts. And that is part of what defines me as a female. And that's very special and very valuable. Well, and we talk about this in our book, Girl Defined. That's radical design for beauty, femininity, and identity. That the physical aspects point to something deeper about who God created us to be. It's not an accident. It's not a mistake. God doesn't.
Yeah, it is very much an accident and a mistake. You know why? Because it's basically whatever sperm got to your mama's egg first, whether it was an X sperm or a Y sperm. That's basically it. That's basically it. Now, yeah, there are different, there's different stuff like there's Fragile X and there's Klinefelters and, the really weird sex chromosomal stuff like that. But, you know, yeah, pretty much is an accident. Pretty much is an accident.
Make mistakes like that we might feel confused sometimes, and the world might tell us confusing messages, but we can look and say, wow, God had a good plan. He made me a woman. He gave me a uterus.
Yeah, and you know what? You're more than your uterus. You're more than your vagina. I know that surprises you. I know that shocks you. That you're more than your uterus and your vagina, but you are.
gave me these functions that are specifically for females, for women, that men do not have. And that's something beautiful and something to be celebrated, and not something just to say like, well, it doesn't really matter what your body parts are, you get to decide. You know, like kind of the whole thing with like gender reveals being like, oh no, we don't want to do that because we want to wait until they decide. Yes, they might have these certain body parts, but no, that doesn't really say anything about who they are. And I think we need to take a step.
I think it is so. Hey, Pixie. I think it is so horrifying that we have these two cis people who don't know a damn thing about what it's like to be trans. They don't even think trans people exist. And they talk about it like they're experts on the subject. That just pisses me off.
Back and say, okay, God intentionally created the man and the woman. He intentionally created them so uniquely different, but so equally valuable. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. We as Christian women need to uphold that and be bold about that fact and not shy away and start to give in to some of this. And I am very much against using these modern terms. I think they're extremely offensive to everyone. And I think they only, add to the confusion.
Yeah, and they don't speak truth. And that is, as Christians, we must speak truth in love, which means we cannot buy into the
What truth? Honestly, what truth are you talking about? The truth that different people have different needs? That people are on different lines of the gender spectrum? What truth are you talking about?
confusion. We cannot buy into the narrative. We can't even buy into the language in so many ways. We have to be willing to say what the world looks at and says, that's unloving, that's bigoted, that's hateful. To call this man a woman, or the reverse, whatever he wants to be called. If you choose to acknowledge the truth about his design as God created him, then you're called all sorts of names. And so we can't back down because we
Oh. Well, okay. Well, got a question for you. Hypothetically, what happens if someone's born with one testicle and one ovary? Hypothetically, what should they be called? Should they be called an it? That's pretty dehumanizing, don't you think? That is the same thing that you are championing to be done to trans people, whether you believe it or not. Because trans people cannot help that they're trans any more than a cis person can help that they're cis. You see, what happens is whatever hormones are in the mother's body at the time of the development of the genitalia is what sex the baby is maybe not genetic sex, but definitely you look at the baby and, you know, but then whatever hormones the mother's pumping out at the time that the baby's brain is undergoing development, which is a later time that the genitals are developing, you see, that is what you don't get. And that is what you're never going to figure out because you don't want to figure it out. Because you would rather be blind and obnoxious little brats than actually go out and find this stuff out for yourself.
We love truth too much. We love people too much to say, we love you so much that we care about the truth about who God made you to be. And so with compassion.
No, you don't. You don't love people. You hate people who are different than you are. You absolutely, positively hate people who are different than you. And it disgusts me. And it's disgusting more and more people, which is probably why you're trying to make your horse shit go down easier.
With love, with grace, we can step forward in truth, out of love for everyone. And that is truly the most loving and compassionate thing to do, is to.
No, the loving and most compassionate thing to do is accept people for who they are. Not shove your truth down their throats. Because guess what? It isn't truth.
Speak the truth, right? So we don't care about this at all. We have no opinions on this. Okay, so that's the first thing that Christian women do not want. And the second thing that Christian women do not want is that we don't want to spend our most fertile years chasing after a career. I know this one is going to get a lot of mixed feelings right now. And this again, this doesn't represent every.
Okay. Of the women you've heard from, which is probably a very small sample size of women. But there are a lot of women who do want to spend their fertile years pursuing a career. Because that's the only way they can do it. So yeah. I would try to tweak that one a bit. Maybe try a bigger sample size.
Christian woman, but this does represent a lot of Christian women. And in fact, again, Christian women. And this is true. And a lot of women who don't even believe in the Bible are saying, you know what? As we're learning more about our bodies, more about our fertility, as many of us are wrestling with infertility, as we're learning more about our cycle, our fertile years, how our eggs decline over time, we're starting to realize, you know what? We have been buying into the lie that we should, as women, spend our youngest, most healthy, most fertile, most energetic years building our career and slaving away, exhausted, barely sleeping, just crushing our bodies. And then maybe sometime down the road, like sometime in those golden years of like 40, when you're basically getting menopause, then we're told, okay, then maybe you can settle down and like think about getting married, think about starting a family, or maybe you're married, but by all means, don't.
Okay, now that is just selfish. Have you ever thought about the babies you would bring into the world? Here you are. You barely have enough to feed yourself. And if you've got a husband, you and your husband barely have enough to feed yourselves. And you're bringing children into the world? What kind of selfish idiots do that? Get comfortable first. You don't have to rake in the dough. Just get a little bit more comfortable with where you are in life before you start bringing lives into the world. That is so goddamn selfish. I don't even know where to begin with that. And I won't, because that just makes me so goddamn angry that you would be that selfish.
Don't even think about kids because that will interrupt every possible career path that you're pursuing. And many women have bought into this and now are backtracking and saying, whoa. I don't know if this is actually as good as it sounds. And as we talked to many of you, you feel the same way. We have ambitions, we have passions, we obviously have a lot as well. We're passionate about ministry, about podcasting, videos, like bringing truth to you. That obviously takes time. You have a lot of personal business passions. It doesn't mean as women that we throw all of our passions that are outside of children out the window. You look at the Proverbs 31 woman, a very ambitious, very passionate, very savvy business, entrepreneurial kind of woman, but you see her values, you see that she was able to pursue her family, pursue her.
Yeah, I'm not even going to touch the Proverbs 31 woman in this. There's a whole lot wrong in Proverbs 31. I'm not even going to touch it right now. Moving on.
Her husband, her children, like all of those things at the same time in tandem with these other things. And so I think there is a way, a healthy balance to pursue both, but there are many of us who don't want that, just like that 9-5, like have kids in 20 years if you can. Like we're ditching that and saying, no, I think our most fertile years are when we're young. And many of us, we genuinely want to take advantage of that because it just makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like you're giving like pitches for my She Works Smart page.
Oh, well, there you just gave one.
I know. Okay, but seriously, you actually did 2 interviews that were incredible. So episode 98 and episode 99 were all on the topic of birth control, family planning, and we had an incredible woman on, Candace Waters, who really brought this perspective and just exactly what you're talking about, like where we invest our most fertile years into our degrees and into our careers, and then when our fertility is kind of on the fritz, we're like, oh no, let me think about having children. And it's a cruel wake up for a lot of women, and they're struggling. And so go listen to episode 98, and then 99 was with a doctor who really went into a lot of the more medical side of things and just what you're saying, like egg quality decline. Like, what are you talking about?
I didn't know about so many of these things till even recently. And I know a lot of you who listened to that episode, did you say 99?
Yeah.
On birth control, the birth control pill specifically, as you've learned about like, oh, your cycle and why it is often much harder for women in their later 30s to conceive. It's not just random, like there are physiological declines. Like our fertility is declining, and like our eggs, we are losing our egg count until we hit menopause, and we have none, and then our fertility is 0. And so it's like we're not realizing, you hear people talk about like, oh, the ticking clock and all this, but there is actually reality to that. Like it's not just a joke. There is an end, and many of us are realizing, you know what, it makes sense, like having kids younger when you're more fertile, when you have more energy, like maybe we should rethink this bill of goods that society has just been pushing on us through the waves of feminism really over the last I don't know how many decades.
Well, and it's not an accident that we were built this way and we were made this way. I mean, God is such a good design.
Society is not pushing anything on you. You fucking morons. Do what you want to fucking do. That's what America is about. You people are idiots if you think that quote unquote secularists are saying forget families. That's not what we're saying. You guys don't listen. You don't. You only hear what you want to hear. Why don't you start listening to people for a change? Maybe you will start singing a different tune.
Are such a good creator, and he made us to be most fertile in our most youthful years. And I just think back to when I was like in my 20s as compared to now in my 30s, and my energy does not look the same. I mean, you might be able to tell. I don't know how much I'm in video, but I am like, just like
how many weeks
at this point, 8 weeks away from giving birth. And I'm like, I think if I was 24, I'd probably be feeling totally different. I'm 34, and that was God's plan for me. I wanted to get married younger. I wanted to have kids younger, but it's also that open hands of surrender. We don't ultimately control these things, like ultimately, but we do have choices that we can make. And if we are intentionally putting that off and saying, no, like maybe we need to take a step back, maybe we need to rethink this, because it is something, I think, having children.
Bad advice. Bad advice. You do what you fucking want to do. That's it. You do what you fucking want to do. Now, of course, there are laws, but there aren't any laws regarding this stuff unless you want to talk about the recent upheaval in America, which I'm not going to get into that. But, anyway, but yeah, you do what you fucking want to do. Nobody's telling you you can't. Who's telling you can't do what you want to do?
Embracing motherhood. It is something beautiful. And I love when I see some of these younger women actually, if they have the opportunity to get married and to see them starting their families. I just think it's so exciting and really awesome. Okay, I'll jump into number 3, the third thing that Christian women do not want. And this came directly from one of you. You said, we don't want men to stop being chivalrous.
Amen, sisters.
So basically,
who wants that? That's what I want.
that whole idea where it's like men are kind of like coming under the hammer and like, oh, anything they do for women is like, you're just putting them down and you're treating us like we're less than.
Like, it's almost sexist for a man to like be chivalrous.
And it's like almost like toxic manhood, where there's so many of us as women who appreciate a man's strength, who appreciate the differences, and who appreciate men who honor women and respect.
Hey, Hi Psy. I have never in my life met a woman who does not appreciate having a man open the door for her. I have never in my life met a woman that said, you close that door right now. I'm not walking through that door. I'll open my own damn door. I have never in my life met a woman like that. Ever. And I have lived in a few states. I'm not going to tell you how many, but I've lived in a few states. So it's not like I've only lived one place my whole life. I will tell you, I've lived from sea to shining sea, and I have never once in my life heard a woman scoff at a man for opening the door for her. That's just, I don't know where the fuck you heard that, but get that out of your head.
Women and go out of their way to just show kindness and care. I mean, it is so ridiculous to me, these TikToks that I see, or these feminist women who are so mad even when a man just like opens the door for them, or like does something chivalrous like that. It's like, how dare you? You think I have strong arms? It's like, oh my goodness, well, you're pleasant. But it's just simple things like that, like a man going out of his way to show kindness, to show care, to show concern for a woman or a female around him. And I just think that's really, really awesome. I personally really appreciate it, and I think there are a ton of women who still do. I mean,
we don't want men to stop being chivalrous. I think any of us would stand on a high horse and say, amen. I think of in my own marriage with my own husband.
Another thing I think they're forgetting, maybe on accident, maybe on purpose, is just the fact that people, period, should be kind to people, period. It doesn't matter who these people are. It doesn't matter whether these people are men or women or girls and boys. It doesn't matter who these people are. People should be kind to people, period. All right, moving on.
husband since day one. He's always been so chivalrous in many ways, but a few of them that come to mind that I really appreciate, that if he stopped, I would be like, oh. And it's just, it's not because I'm incapable of doing these things. For example, like he always opens my car door when I get in and out. And it's just really sweet. It's not that I'm incapable of opening my own door. I drive my own car plenty without him, and I do get in and out. I know that might surprise you, but I am capable. But it's just a sweet gesture of him showing that kindness, showing that love, even respect, to saying, I love you, I want to take care of you, I'm here for you. And it's just like a gentlemanly gesture that in fact used to be very common. You know, you watch any shows, like we like the Andy Griffith show and like some of these old shows, and you watch and you just see the chivalry. You see such distinctions of like the masculine man, the kind masculine man, and like the feminine woman. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful contrast. And in this day and age, because things have become so convoluted, so distorted, it's like we're offended by everything everyone does. We can't even appreciate those distinctions and those differences, that it's so sad to me. It's like you watch.
No. No. What if the couple are in a hurry? Then it doesn't really matter, does it? Maybe the woman wants to see her kids, doesn't want to wait for her husband or her significant other to come around to the other side to open her door. So she does it for herself. Doesn't mean anything. Just means she wants to go see her kids. What about this is hard for you to understand, you fucking idiots?
Watch those old shows, and it's just honestly beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it's a beautiful complementarian function, and it's just sad that we lost that.
Yeah.
I know many of us want that, and we don't want to lose that.
And we acknowledge and realize that there are men and women who are just not kind and very selfish and manipulative and all of that. So we don't want that. We're talking about men with genuine hearts who aren't perfect, but who like care about women, who want to respect them. And I feel bad that we just hammer them on the head all the time, and then we're
No. No. I don't want men who care about women. No. I want people who care about people. Period. It's not about men. It's not about women. It's about people. People caring for people. And if you can't understand that, then you can go fuck yourself. And yeah, I'm having a good time saying go fuck yourself this evening.
you're the worst. It's like, why are we doing that? Why can't we appreciate these differences and, just embrace them and enjoy them? I mean, it's simple things, even like, whoa, I'm knocking my own mic over. Like a man, going on a date and the man would pay for the date, and it's just a way of him saying, hey, let me take care of this. Like I invited you, but it's like you're saying so convoluted, so mixed up that, I don't know. I appreciate it. Yeah. The dates that I went on that were paid for.
The distinctions are beautiful. And if we embrace them, and if a man is walking in his masculine strength in a humble, kind way to serve others, to love others, I think Jesus is the most perfect example of this, right? Of like the strongest human in the world, maybe not like when he was human in the muscle sense of the word, but like in every other capacity, right? Like he was God. We don't know. He was a carpenter. No, this is true. We've never seen him. He was the strongest man. And yet what was he? He said,
Yeah, there are a lot of people who would beg to differ with you on that point, but all right, for sake of argument, go on.
came to serve and not be served. He came to love others, to pour out, to reach out to those that others were disgusted to touch, disgusted to look at. And that is like, to me, the ultimate picture of that masculinity, that chivalry, that kindness, that humility. And when men are genuinely loving others with that kind of heart, like why would we want to smash that? Why would we want to smash that? We don't. We want to encourage that and call that out. So let's go.
Let's jump into number 4. This one is spicy. So if your spicy parameter is like, I can't handle it anymore, you might want to turn it off right now. Because number 4, and again, many of you said this, we don't want someone else raising our kids. Okay, straight off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to guess at what this means. I'm guessing it has something to do with schools, let's see if they let's see if they Because, okay, my take on it is the parents should raise the kids, right? Now, different cultures have different lenses. In some cultures, it's the entire village that raises the kids. It's the entire culture. It's not the parents, it's the entire culture. And it just depends on, what culture you're in and, you know, that kind of thing. Let's see where they're going with this. Oh, hang on. Let's see where they're going with this.
There are circumstances and situations where there are incredible single moms who are providing the very best that they absolutely can. What we're talking about here, and what many of you are emphasizing, we don't want someone else raising our kids, is this whole idea that you need to be out there, you need to be fighting for a career, you need to be making a name for yourself, and being a mom, being like a stay-at-home mom, like investing in your kids, like, ooh, like we don't want that. That's not something to chase after. That's not something to pursue. That's not something worthy. Like, you need to do something better with your time. And I know we hear this like, well, no, we want every woman to do what she wants, but how often are you hearing the role of motherhood and women who aren't just motherhood, who actually choose to invest into their children and who choose to spend the best hours of their day with their children? Like, how often are they getting praised? How often are they getting in front of the magazine? Like, pretty much never.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I was listening to this interview the other day, and it wasn't a Christian interview, totally secular, but one of the ladies on was, I can't remember who she was. She was somewhat semi-famous in like the political or like media world, I don't really know. But she was really climbing the ladder, corporate ladder, very, very successful in the world's eyes, like according to world standards of success. And she shared on this interview that one of her biggest regrets was that she chose not to have kids because she was so focused on climbing the ladder, pursuing her career, and she was sharing, not even to, I don't even think she was a believer, she was just saying to this day, and I think at the time of the interview, she's past child, like married years, she was saying that is one of her biggest regrets. And I think that is what so many of us who maybe got into this lie that like, yes, children aren't really
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I didn't have this part muted. Well, then, you know what? If she's past childbearing years, that's what adoption is for. There are plenty of kids out there that need adopting and need good homes.
worth much. Like, it's not really that awesome. They're hard. They're expensive. Like, and yes, all of those things are true.
Yeah.
It's not like motherhood is just like you wake up and it's this dream world of like rainbows and butterflies every day. Like,
It's not like that for you.
yeah, there are challenges and it can be hard, but we know it's worth the investment. It's worth the time. And my heart just goes out to women who are past that season looking back and saying, man, I think I really missed something, because from that vantage point, maybe that career they fought for so many years, maybe all the success that they have, maybe the world's applause is just ringing a little empty as they compare maybe the value of family. So,
I mean, that's been something the two of us have had to really adjust, because like we said, we've both desired children for a very long time. Neither of us had children until our 30s. I have my son, David Jr., about to have a little girl. You've adopted your two awesome boys. And so we desired these things in our 20s. They did not happen for us, but it's been a shift because we had not really by choice, but we had a lot of time where we just kind of could focus on ourselves, our marriage, and whatever we wanted. And then you have kids and your whole world is turned upside down in the best way possible. But we both have realized how much like our time, we don't have unending time. We can't be in two places at once. And so we've really had to like completely adjust the way that we run Girl Defined. We've had to completely adjust our schedules. And we actually did an episode all on motherhood a few back. I don't have the episode number in front of me.
I'm trying to find it.
I might be able to pull it up. We did it. How motherhood has changed our priorities in ministry episode.
Hey, Purple. Well, you know what, Bethany and Kristen, if you were really, really worried about living up to biblical womanhood, you wouldn't be teaching. Because Paul said, I suffer not a woman to teach in the church. I rest my case. But you do, So, I don't know. I don't know what you think you're doing. Talking out of both sides of your mouth, that's for sure.
94. So if you're like, yeah, how does that
Yeah.
work? How does that adjustment happen? I mean, we are not perfect at this, but we definitely see the value and the beauty and the like incredible calling that motherhood is. And neither of us want to get 10, 20 years down the road and look back and go, wow, we invested in all of this career stuff, all of this even ministry, like formal ministry stuff, and missed out on discipling our own children, missed out on investing in those relationships. And so, you know, I know that's something that many of you desire, and it takes sacrifice. Sometimes it takes living in a smaller house, only driving one car, you know, all of that. It can take a lot of sacrifice, but it's so awesome to see that so many of you are desiring that. And we just want to encourage you to be courageous and bold in vocalizing that, because just know there are a lot of other women out there who feel the same way as you.
All right, this takes us into our last and final thing that Christian women do not want. And this is kind of piggybacking on one we shared a little bit earlier, so we're just going to get in even more hot water here. Last thing, we don't want to compete with men in the workplace. Boom. We just made some people really angry. And some people cheered. Okay, we've got both. We always do both.
Yes.
But we don't, you know, we have been told that the pinnacle of success is to be climbing the ladder, to be thriving in your 9 to 5.
Who told you that? Who told you that the pinnacle of success is to be climbing the ladder and to be thriving in your 9 to 5 job? Who told you that? There are plenty of people who don't thrive in that kind of a situation. There are plenty of people who don't thrive in that kind of a situation. It seems that you people have been taking advice from some very dumb people. And this is a list of things that they got from their listeners, by the way, if you're just joining me. This is a list of things they got from their listeners about 5 things women don't want. And it seems to me like it's a hodgepodge. Like, some of the things are like, some of the things are like, okay, I can see where you got that. And others are like, where the hell did you get that from? Have you been living in a toaster oven? No, seriously, have you been living in a toaster oven? I it just seems, you know what it sounds like to me? You know what it honestly sounds like to me? And forgive me if I'm wrong, and you can leave it in the comments if you think that this is a bit presumptuous of me. But I think what has happened is that these ladies that they're hearing from, they go to church, they're in their little churchy world. That's all they ever do. Okay. And all they ever hear is their churchy friends saying churchy things. And they think that what their churchy friends say, the quote unquote world is saying, is indicative of what the quote unquote world is actually saying. And they're not going and checking for themselves. And so they're just like, and we don't want this. And I'm like, on some of those things, I'm with you. On some of those things, I am with you. But definitely not on all things. They were complaining earlier about not being respected. If you want to be respected, Bethany and Kristen, if you want to be respected, and I mean this in all sincerity, you need to respect others. Because if you do not respect others, you have no fucking right to demand respect from anybody else. In fact, even if you don't respect others, even if you do respect others, you have no fucking right to demand to be respected by others. But you sure don't have any right to demand to be respected by others if you don't respect others. The very, very, very minimum that you should have to expect to do in order to be respected by others is to respect others in turn. That is the very minimum that you should need to do, and you don't respect others. And so you have no right to demand that any others should respect you. And I know that probably makes you angry, but guess what? I don't give a shit because I've got truth on my side. You talk about truth, you talk about love. Well, it's not loving not to respect people. At any rate, wow, was not expecting that tirade. Guess I had more on my mind about Kristen and Bethany than I thought. So anyway, like the video if you will. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. And ring the bell if you haven't rung the bell already. Leave a comment down in the comment section, and if you are financially able, you can join this channel for as little as 99 cents a month. You get debunks at least one day early, usually 2 days early. Speaking of debunks, my debunk is out this week for my members. It will be out for everyone tomorrow? No, Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. Forgot what day it was. So anyway, have a good day, rest of the day, everyone, and I will see you later. Bye.